This video is the first part of a two-part series where I teach you how to make these two pieces, both the top and the pant. This video is for the pants. The top video is in my channel, so make sure to check, make sure to subscribe, like, share. Let's get into the video. I'm starting out with cutting two pieces each on fold for my front and for my back pieces, so each are on fold. Take note, the front is slightly shorter than the back, and I'm having 17 inches for my width. I got it by adding 6 inches to a quarter of my hip measurement, so I'm getting 17 inches. If you're more, you can always add. And for my back, I'm having 20 inches because I added 3 more inches to the width of my front. I'm having 40 inches for my trouser length, and I have the waist and the hem line allowance all added to the 40 inches. So I'm going to separate and start with the front. For the front, I'm going to mark just half an inch line above for the waist line, and then I'll go ahead to mark my crotch line. Seated on a flat surface, my client's crotch line is normally 10 inches, and to the 10 inches I can add 3 inches, giving me 13. Or you could decide to use a quarter of your hip measurement plus 1 more inch. For me, either ways, it gives me the same 13. I could even use 14 if I wish. So that gives me the area for my crotch point. Now for my crotch line, on my crotch line I'll add a quarter of my hip circumference, and I'll add 2 more inches. You can decide to add 1 if you like. It's just to create more fullness. I now have a total of 14 inches, which I'm going to also mark on the waistline as you see me doing. Then I'm going to connect a straight line. Now I'm going to divide a quarter of my hip circumference by 4, and I'm having 2.9. Approximately it is 3, so I'm using that for my crotch extension. Okay, now I'm going to make a curve around that area. So I'm going up by 3 inches, and from there I'm going to make a curve down into my crotch extension. Everything on my crotch line right now is about 17 inches. For me, I would simply take out 2 inches from 17 inches, giving me 15 inches. I'm going to mark that on my hem line. I'm going to connect a straight line from my crotch extension down to my hemline. If you would like to curve, you can, but I don't think it adds any effect, especially on this type of free trouser. So I'll go ahead to cut. So I'm really not concerned about seam allowance because I just need half an inch, and maybe from the back I'm going to get the half an inch. Okay, so it's a very big trouser. There would be no issue with that. So I'm done with the front. For the back, I'm going to place the front panel on the back panel, and on the crotch extension line for the back, I'm coming out by 3 inches, same 3 inches we came out by in the front. And for the inseam line on my trouser, I'm marking 2.5. okay, I'm also going to mark that on my hem line and connect a straight line down to the hem. I also went ahead to mark 2.5 inches on the middle part of the back panel of the trouser, and I used the freehand to connect it back down to the curve extension line of my back panel. I'm going to go down by half an inch on my front panel, okay, and I would not be cutting from that half an inch. Instead, I'd cut up from the point where I went down by here, because it serves as my allowance. So for my joining allowance for my waist, I wouldn't need to add any allowance anymore, so I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to leave the back just like that. I'm going to divide the side part of both the front and the back panels. For the pocket, I want to come down by 6.5 inches, and from the waistline go in by 3 inches. Now you might decide to make yours curved like this, but I'll make mine straight with a ruler. I'm going to turn inside and sew half an inch for the front and half an inch for the back in the curved line, and then I have 4 pieces measuring the length of 12 inches by 9 inches for my pocket. Now I'm going to go ahead to separate 2, and for this first 2 I'm going to cut them to have the shape of the pocket. So watch how I do that. Okay, now once done, I'll distribute, make sure that the front part of the pocket piece is facing the front part of the pant or trouser, and I'm going to sew on that part, sew here as well. And I'm going to take the left, the other ones, the 2 I separated, I'm going to sew them front side or right side facing right side, just in this way, and I'll come back. Now we've joined everything. Now you have to turn, just watch what I do. You turn everything upside inside. Okay, the 2 pieces that have just been attached, turn them inside. Okay, you can iron or you stop stitch this area. Okay, now you take just the other part that you didn't shape, like the pockets, and you pull it a bit out, making sure that it replaces the first 3 inches we cut out. Remember the 3 inches where I said you can curve yours or you make yours straight? Yes. So make sure that you're having that same 3 inches. So if you mark what you removed, it should be exactly the same with what you're replacing with the other part of the other piece of the pocket. Okay, so if not, you adjust to it. You see, we're having just what we removed. Okay, now you want to top stitch that area to secure the fabrics in that area. Okay, so I'm done with that, as you can see. Okay, and the next part we have to secure is this end. Okay, so you want to lift this place up, so secure these 2 pieces of fabric with just half an inch. Do that, and you place it down flat and secure this end together with the trouser panel itself. Okay, so you're securing 3 pieces of fabric. So now that I'm done, this is what I'm having. Okay, now you want to place your back panel on the front panel and join from the center, from the middle part, that's from the crotch extension. You want to join down. So this is where I've joined everything together to my hemline. So you want to sew your side with half an inch, but before you do that, it would be nice if you fold in your hem allowance before you join the sides. If you're making the trouser rope with fabric, this is how you should fold, with an inch of fabric. So the length should be your waist circumference times 2.5 or times 3. Now you close these ends. For this tutorial, I'll be using a store-bought trouser rope. Measure the circumference of the waist of the trouser and use that length to cut a band having a width of 2.5. So I'm just going to join these 2 ends together. Remember to add allowance for joining. And now I have a whole circular fabric. So from the middle part, I'm going to join to the mid part of the front trouser. Okay, and I'm going to run the seam straight down. So this is it already. Because this side of the fabric has a self edge, I'm not afraid of it fraying, so I'm not going to fold twice. I'm simply going to fold in once, making sure that your seam faces upward in this direction. Okay, so you fold in, but before that we would make holes for the bands. Okay, so I'm marking the middle point 1.5 inches away from the middle point of the trouser, of the front panel of the trouser. The upward half an inch you see me marking now is simply for me to know my boundary, so I know, oh, I don't have to cross this place. So I'm going to strike my matchstick and burn through just a little bit of touch around there to create the hole. Okay, so just allow it to dry a bit for it to form the hole. I'm going to do that for the next hole. And now this is my store-bought. So with this stopper here, it can't go through. So what I have to do is to loosen this knot and remove the stopper. Okay, and I'm going to use my pin, pass it through, fasten it, and get it through the circumference of the my trouser waist. Okay, so this is it, all done and looking good already. So I'm going to remove the pin and replace it back. Well, since it can't go in, I'm going to use this knitting pin to push it through to come out of the other end of the stopper. Okay, so after that, I'm going to go ahead to fasten back the end and cut off this fraying end. Okay, so once you do that, you are done. So before you even add your rope, you would want to go ahead to serge your fabric. So this is the end, and I loved the outcome. My client also loved the outcome. So this is just the part one of the video. In the part two of the video, I teach you how to make the top. So check it out. Subscribe, like, and share. Toodles!